Unleash the power of creation, command, and the cosmic weave as we dive into the heart of Destiny 2 Strand. This isn't just about mastering minions, it's about becoming the maestro of mayhem. In this build, witness the birth of Threadlings at your fingertips, transforming the battlefield into a tapestry of destruction. Boost your command with the Swarmers. This Warlock exotic turns destroyed tangles into the spawning grounds for Threadlings, and these minions, born from chaos, unravel your foes, amplifying your power with each strike. But that's just the beginning. With the aspect, the Wanderer empowers your Threadlings to spawn more tangles, and to take command of the battlefield by suspending your targets in midair, asserting your dominance in the chaos. Equipped with a Threadling grenade, a weapon infused with hatchling, and Weaver's Call to summon Threadlings with your rift, you'll be surrounded by an army, fighting shoulder to shoulder. Join me as we unravel the secrets of this potent build and truly become the master of minions. Remember to leave a like if you found this video helpful, and if you like seeing build videos and other Destiny 2 helpful content, hit that subscribe button. With that being said, let's jump right on into it. The gameplay loop for this build is pretty simple. Do everything in your power to create as many Threadlings as possible. Seriously though, you want to be shooting or throwing tangles as much as possible to suspend more targets, and once suspended, kill them as quickly as possible to gain back more and more rift energy. Pop your rift to heal and create more Threadlings, while generating more grenade energy. Throw your Threadling grenade to deal massive damage and create more ability energy for all of your abilities. Any downtime you have with your abilities, use your hatchling weapon to create even more Threadlings. It's as simple as that. So let's dive into the build and break down how it works. First up, our super, Needlestorm. Warlocks don't have that many one and done supers, and out of the options available, Needlestorm is one of the best. Not only is it easy to use and deal some of the most damage, but you can also fire it at a group of enemies to wipe them out, since the Threadlings will chase down any stragglers. It really is a powerful super. For our class ability, we're taking Healing Rift. Since we will be focusing on creating as many Threadlings as possible, weapon damage isn't as important as surviving, so Healing Rift is the way to go for this build. For our powered melee, we only have one option, that being Arcane Needle. But Arcane Needle is actually pretty strong, and more importantly, it will give you a way to have on-demand Unravel to generate even more Threadlings and deal even more damage. Not to mention, when a target is unraveled, it'll shoot out those seeking projectiles to clear out any nearby targets as well. After that, we are choosing the Threadling Grenade. Of course, we are going with the Threadling Grenade for this build, since the only other option could be the Shackle Grenade for Suspend, but I like to have the option to generate even more Threadlings. And for our aspects, the first one I'm taking is Weaver's Call, so that when you cast your rift, you'll be creating 3 Threadlings, and any Threadlings that you do have perched will also be deployed. I like this option to generate even more Threadlings, since we will be casting our rift basically whenever we get it. It also helps with dealing extra damage to tougher targets when you don't have your grenade. Pop your rift right in front of them, and not only are you going to heal through any damage they do to you, but you're also going to send out 3 extra Threadlings to deal even more damage. We pair that with the Wanderer, and this aspect is now going to make it so that tangles that you throw will now attach to targets and detonate, suspending all nearby targets. You can also shoot the tangle to cause the same detonation, and this will also make it so that your Threadlings will now create tangles. And since we'll be creating so many Threadlings, this means that you'll basically have a tangle as soon as your cooldown comes back. And more tangles means more suspension, more Threadlings, and more class ability energy. Alright, moving on to our fragments. First up, we're taking Thread of Evolution, and this is a no-brainer for Threadling builds. This is going to make it so that Threadlings will now travel further, but more importantly, they will deal more damage. And this equates to about 50% damage on red bar and yellow bar enemies, and about 30% more damage to bosses and mini bosses. If you plan on using Threadlings for any build, it's 100% necessary. After that, we're going with Thread of Mind, so that defeating suspended targets will generate class ability energy, and this will give you roughly about 10 to 15% per kill. Our rift is our only source of healing, and it will also generate more Threadlings, so it's important to have high uptime on it. We can also easily suspend targets with tangles, making it easy to kill suspended targets, which is going to get us back our rift even quicker with this fragment. After that, we have Thread of Wisdom, so that killing a suspended enemy will generate an orb of power. This will play into our mods a little bit later, but not only will we get more ability energy from it, but we'll also gain Woven Mail from our next fragment. I did think about replacing this one with Thread of Continuity, however, the only thing that would really help with Thread of Continuity is our suspension, and that would only be increased from 5 seconds to 7 seconds, so it didn't really feel worth it to me. And then finally, we pair it with Thread of Warding, so that whenever you pick up an orb, you're granted Woven Mail, giving you access to 45% increased damage resistance. Woven Mail is key to surviving on any Strand build, so we absolutely want to take advantage of it. All right, let's talk about ways to improve the build. First up, our stats. We are shooting for 100 resilience. The added 30% damage resistance stacked on top of the 45% damage resistance from woven mail is definitely going to be key for surviving in any Destiny content. So shoot for 100 resilience, and then after that, we're taking 70 recovery. We will be taking a font mod to increase our recovery by 30 whenever we have armor charge, so shoot for that 70. That way we can basically have 100 nearly all the time. After making sure that we basically have 100 in both resilience and recovery, then we're pouring everything else into discipline. I shoot for the highest amount of discipline I can because our super will come back fairly quickly with only 30, and our melee is powerful, but we will be playing into our mods that will benefit more from using our grenade. So shoot for that 100 resilience, 70 recovery, and then 100 discipline. All right, moving on to our armor mods. First up, our helmet. I am going to be taking Harmonic Siphon, so that rapid kills with Strand weapons will create orbs. And like we said, orbs are going to give us woven mail, which is going to give us that extra damage resistance we need, as well as give us back more ability energy and more super energy. And we will be using our Strand weapons to create as many orbs as possible. I usually like to pair that with both Heavy Ammo Finder and Heavy Ammo Scout, so that we're generating more heavy ammo bricks for ourselves and for our teams. All right, moving on to the arms. First up, we have Firepower. So the grenade final blows will create orbs. Since we are using the Threadling grenade, we want to be throwing it as much as possible so that we're creating as many Threadlings as possible, since they will feed back into the rest of our gameplay loop. And because of that, we want to pair it with Impact Induction, so that grenade damage grants melee ability energy. Then we also pair it with Bolstering Detonation, so that that grenade damage will also grant us class ability energy. We will be throwing our grenade as much as possible to create as many Threadlings as possible, so we will take advantage of that to gain back more ability energy for all of our other abilities, as well as create orbs. After that, we have our chest mods. And one thing to note, because we are on Strand, Harmonic resistance doesn't work, so we do want to take 3 resistance mods, and I usually like to make that Arc, Solar, and Void, but you can change any of these out to match whatever activity you're doing. If there is a threat, you can negate it by putting on 2 of the same. Moving on to the legs, first up we have Recuperation. This is going to give us 70 health on orb pickup plus woven mail, which means that orbs will make us healthy and keep us healthy. And we are going to also pair that with Orbs of Restoration, so that we gain 10% ability energy to our least charged ability. We like to use both our grenade and our rift as much as possible, so I like to have Orbs of Restoration to give back 10% to either of those, whichever one is lower. This can sometimes go back into your melee energy, but your melees are super strong too, so it doesn't really hurt. After that, we are taking 1 Strand Weapon Surge, so that it'll give us a flat 10% increase to all of our Strand weapons whenever we have armor charge. We will be using a Strand primary and potentially a heavy weapon, so this will help our total damage output. Moving on to the mark. First up, I am taking Bomber. It's going to give us 12% grenade energy whenever we use our class ability. Again, we want to use our rift as much as possible to generate even more Threadlings, and it's our only way to stay healthy, so again, we are going to use our rift a ton. So every time we are using it, we're going to gain back a little bit of extra grenade energy as well. So those will now feed into each other. Pair that with Font of Restoration, so that we gain plus 30 to our recovery whenever we have armor charge. Not only will this let you be a little bit healthier and recharge your health a little bit quicker, but it'll also reduce the cooldown on your rift. And since we have both Weapon Surge and Font of Restoration, we're going to pair that with Time Dilation, so that our decaying armor charge now has a longer duration. All right, let's talk about the artifact for this season. We do have a few mods that will help our Strand build become a bit stronger. Blast Radius will grant you armor charge when killing 2 or more targets with a grenade launcher or rocket. Wished into Being will grant 3 orbs on ability kills when you have roughly 80 to 99% of your super. Dragon's Bite has a chance to suspend a target when breaking a shield with a Strand weapon. Unraveling Orbs will give your Strand weapons unraveling rounds when picking up an orb. And finally, Horde Shuttle will create Threadlings when you're dealing weapon damage to unraveled targets. There are a few options that you can take extra, those being both origin perks, solo operative, and from whence you came, but they all are optional and depend on what situation you're in. All right, let's talk weapons. First up, for our kinetic slot, we are going to be taking a Strand weapon and preferably one with hatchling. A Strand primary is our best option here, and I love pairing it with hatchling to create even more Threadlings. There are plenty of good options out there, a few of those being Fang of Yuriut for a scout, Lethal Abundance for an auto, Vengeful Whisper for a bow, and Nightshade for a pulse. But you can pick whichever weapon you do have that has hatchling on it. I usually go for a reload perk plus hatchling. If you have the exotic slot available, Wishkeeper is also a great exotic, since you can both suspend and create Threadlings, which is not only going to create more tangles for you and deal more damage with Threadlings, but also with suspend, you'll be gaining back more class ability energy. All right, for our energy slot, I usually like to make this a utility weapon. So I usually use this slot as a utility, and I find 2 weapons to be best here: Waveframe grenade launchers and the new rocket assisted sidearms. Indebted Kindness with Volt Shot feels really strong with this build. Not only will you be able to apply Unravel, but you'll also be able to apply Jolt, which means you and your team will be able to deal more damage in boss phases. This will also help you stun unbear your champions and clear out groups of enemies. Wayfaring grenades do help with ad clear, and that mainly will also keep up your armor charge with this seasonal artifact. A few good options could be the Dead Messenger if you have the exotic slot open, or you can choose Forbearance or Undercurrent for a legendary option. For our heavy slot, I have two favorite exotics, those being Dragon's Breath and Leviathan's Breath. Dragon's Breath excels in solo play and dealing massive damage to targets, whereas Leviathan's Breath will not only stun unstopped champions, but also deal decent damage to targets with easy to hit crits. If you don't have the exotic slot open, pick your best damage dealing weapon. That could be the Cold Comfort or Apex Predator for a rocket, or the Cataphract GL3 and the Caraxes Distress for a Strand grenade launcher. Just pick whatever your best weapon is and take that with you. As the threads of destiny weave and unravel, you now stand at the helm of unparalleled power. This Strand build has transformed you into an architect of chaos, with Threadlings at your command, sweeping through the battlefield in the dance of destruction. I hope this guide has equipped you with the knowledge to harness the full potential of this build. Whether you're facing the toughest foes alone or with a group, let Threadlings be your companions in your journey through Destiny 2. If you found this video helpful or simply enjoyed the chaotic beauty of this Strand build, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Destiny 2 content. Share your experiences with the Master of Minions build in the comments below, and let me know what would you change or how would you improve it. Keep an eye out for future videos as we continue to explore the ever-evolving world of Destiny 2. Until then, may the threads of fate be ever in your favor. This is Lucky Mech, signing off. See you on the next adventure, Guardians.